My mission had failed disastrously. To salvage what I could, I initiated a complete reset, altering the memories of everyone involved. I made Daniel their husband and their father, the man they had wanted all along. Then, I walked away and began a new life. I married again, and we had a child. 5 years of genuine peace passed. Then, without warning, the system's alert chimed in my ear, a cold, synthetic tone that I had almost forgotten. "Host, the original target has lost control. She has recovered her memories and is tracking you with her daughter." I slowly turned from the window of my studio, and my heart stopped. There they were. Clara and her daughter, Sophie, stood silhouetted in the doorway, their expressions dark and unyielding, blocking my only exit. "Why did you leave us?" Clara's voice was a low, wounded whisper that carried across the room. "Why does everyone tell us that our husband, that our father, is Daniel?" The alert had shattered a moment of perfect, ordinary happiness. I had been on the phone with my little girl, Maya. She was excitedly telling me how her teacher had shown her class how to bake bread, and that she had smuggled a small loaf home just for her daddy. From the background, I could hear my wife, Amelia, pretending to be indignant. "What about Mommy? Doesn't Mommy get any?" "Mommy can have a little piece," Maya's sweet, high-pitched voice conceded. "But Daddy has to eat his first." Her earnestness made me laugh, a warm, genuine sound that filled my small office. The smile was still on my face when the system's jarring alert cut through the calm. "Warning, warning, target out of control." The system's voice, usually impassive, was laced with something that sounded like an apology. "Host, I am sorry. The original target is unstable. She has regained her memories and is on her way to find you with her daughter. This was my error, I admit it. If necessary, I can arrange a simulated death for you, free of charge. You can relocate to another world and start again." A simulated death. The thought wasn't entirely new. 5 years ago, when I first discovered that Clara harbored a deep, unquenchable love for a man who wasn't me, a man she considered the one who got away, and that our own daughter wished he was her father instead, the idea of faking my death had seemed like a tempting escape. But now, I glanced at my phone's lock screen, a picture of Amelia, Maya, and me at the beach, all of us beaming. I shook my head, speaking to the voice only I could hear. "No, thank you. My life is good now. The love I had chased for so long, the affection I had tried to manufacture through careful, calculated actions, was now my simple, everyday reality. I wasn't willing to give it up. My function in this world was what the system called a closer. 12 years ago, I'd been in a terrible accident in my own world, leaving me in a coma. The system offered me a deal. Enter this world and complete a mission, and I could have my life back. The mission was to win the heart of the story's secondary female lead, Clara. If she genuinely fell in love with me, forsaking the narrative's male lead, I would be free. It was my only option. The system had warned me that Clara was an SS-tier target, exceptionally difficult. To move her, I became a certified nutritionist, meticulously crafting a different, specialized meal for her every single day for 3 months. When she shattered her leg in a car accident while chasing after the male lead, I was the one who comforted her, the one who sat by her side through every painful session of physical therapy. A year later, it worked. She proposed to me, her eyes shining as she said that meeting me was the best thing that had ever happened to her. In our 2nd year of marriage, our daughter was born. I named her Sophie, hoping her life would be filled with joy. On her 1st birthday, Clara held my hand tightly and whispered about us growing old together, surrounded by generations of our family. I was so certain of our happiness that I thought the system must have malfunctioned for not registering my mission as complete. I even began to think that living out the rest of my days in this world, with this family, would be a perfectly fine outcome. That illusion was shattered on an otherwise ordinary night when Clara forgot to log out of her messaging application on our home computer. A new message popped up. "Clara, I'm back in the country. I've been through a lot, and I finally know what I want. This time, can we give us a real chance?" The message was from Daniel, the original male lead of this world. Clara's one that got away. 7 years earlier, he had left her to pursue his career abroad. She had raced her car in a desperate attempt to stop him, crashing and breaking both of her legs. I was the one who had spent a full year helping her learn to walk again. I had believed they had cut off all contact. I never imagined their communication had simply gone underground. The message was posted in a group chat for her childhood friends. These were the same friends who clapped me on the back and called me brother, but now they were rallying around him. "It's about time, Clara. You two star-crossed lovers have finally made it. When we first married, I had asked Clara if I could join that group. She gently refused, saying it was just for her old friends and that none of them added their spouses. She assured me I had met them all, that it was just a bunch of guys talking about nothing important." I clicked on the member list. I recognized every name except one. Daniel, the group administrator. His profile picture showed him wearing gold-rimmed glasses, looking elegant and focused as he read a book. And Clara's profile picture? It was the cover of that very same book. I remembered asking her once why she used a book cover, thinking it was a bit stuffy. She had smiled and said it was a way of praying for good fortune for me and for our daughter. A wave of nausea rolled over me. Just looking at the image of that book made me feel sick. Daniel's return sent the group into a frenzy. Half an hour later, Clara finally, hesitantly, typed a reply. "Evan has been very good to me and my family. I can't bear to hurt him." Another friend replied instantly. "But do you love him?" "I don't think so. I didn't see the part about not wanting to hurt me. I didn't register the group's reaction that followed. The only words that burned into my mind were hers, a tacit admission. She didn't love me." When Sophie was 4, Clara was locked in a bitter power struggle with her older sister at their family's company. To help her secure a critical project, I flew over 50,000 miles in a single week, surviving on 3 hours of sleep a night. The project was a resounding success, but the strain was too much. I had a heart attack from the sheer exhaustion and had a brush with death. In the hospital, Clara held me close, tears streaming down her face, and told me I was the person she loved most in this world. The person she loved most, but not the person she was in love with. For Clara, love was a responsibility, a comfortable habit, but it wasn't the electrifying spark of passion. Because there was no spark, the system never declared my mission complete. The terrible truth finally clicked into place. I opened her private chat with Daniel. She had cherished every conversation they ever had. In 15 years of knowing him, she hadn't deleted a single message. 7 years ago, on the day we were married, Clara had sent him a message. "I'm marrying someone else. Are you sure you're not coming back?" Daniel's reply was cold. "I have dreams I can't give up. 6 years ago, just after Sophie was born, Clara sent him a photo of our newborn baby. I give up. You said you didn't want a child tying you down. As long as you come back, she can be our child. Daniel, I will definitely treat her like my own daughter." After that, their chats became more and more frequent. For 7 years of our marriage, under the guise of an annual vacation, Clara took our daughter to Australia to visit him. Every single year. They followed each other on every social media platform. On Instagram, they presented themselves as a picture-perfect, loving family. My own mother-in-law had given Daniel the family watch, a symbol meant for the son-in-law of the Liu family. And that circle of friends who joked with me at barbecues? Behind my back, they called me the poor schmuck who was just keeping her seat warm until the real man came back. The sheer absurdity of it all made me laugh, a hollow, broken sound in the silent house. I asked the system, "So, does this mean my mission has failed? Can I just fake my death and move to another world for a new mission?" After 7 years of pouring my soul into this life, I couldn't bear the thought of ending up heartbroken and back in a coma. The system seemed hesitant. "Host, you do not possess enough points to travel to another world." However, it seemed almost apologetic for not warning me sooner. I reviewed the director's plan. With the second female lead's marriage, Daniel's narrative as the hero of this world has concluded. A new target will emerge. If you can successfully win over the new target in this world, your mission will also be considered complete. But this time the target is SSS tier. The difficulty is significantly higher. "Does she have a one that got away?" I asked, my voice flat. "An ex-boyfriend she can't get over?" No, she is the main character. Her story is her own. There is no significant man in her life. As long as there's no other man, I'll take it. I was so utterly finished with secret histories and old flames. I would rather face a cold, ruthless business magnate than deal with another phantom rival. I had the system create a new identity for me, a clean slate. Before I left my old life behind, I used the last of my points to alter the memories of everyone in this world, weaving Daniel seamlessly into the fabric of their lives as the real husband, father, and son-in-law. The system's voice stammered. "Are you altering your daughter's memories as well?" "Change them," I said without hesitation. Not long after Clara had sent that message in the group chat, Sophie had sent her one of her own. "I heard Uncle Daniel is back." "Mommy, can Uncle Daniel be my dad? He's so handsome and smart, not like Daddy who only has a bachelor's degree. Billy's dad next door has a PhD. The mother was on a business trip, the daughter at summer camp, thousands of miles apart. Yet their thoughts were fixed on the same man." The ache in my chest swelled, consumed by a fire of bitter absurdity. I pulled the family photo from my wallet, the one of the three of us smiling, and held a lighter to its corner. I watched it burn before tossing the lighter behind me, setting fire to the house, to their passports, to every last trace of the life I had built. Then, I accepted the system's offer and began my new task, winning over this world's new female lead, Amelia. Amelia was, as promised, incredibly difficult to win over, but there was one crucial difference. She cared. Every single point increase in her affection level was tangibly reflected in her actions. The first time we met, she was being hunted in the mountains, and I saved her. I told her, "Other than money, I won't accept any other form of repayment." As it turned out, there was no cell signal deep in the mountains. The next day, unable to transfer the money, her affection level was forced up by 10%. As a substitute, she chopped every piece of firewood in my yard until the stacks were perfect and spotless. Later, I took a knife for her during an attack, and her affection level jumped by 30%. She knew perfectly well that I had orchestrated the situation, but she still used the full force of her resources to completely and utterly destroy the person responsible. When her affection level reached 80%, she proposed to me. "Evan," she said, her gaze direct and unflinching, "I know you might have ulterior motives, but I don't care. Marry me, and I will make sure you get everything you're after." Marriage, children. When you are with someone who truly loves you, everything feels effortless. In a quiet moment of passion one night, I asked her, "Why did you fall for me?" She gently stroked my hair, her eyes tender. Because I couldn't help it. That was the first time I truly understood that love is something you can't help, not something you can't bear to hurt. Back in the present, on the phone, Amelia was still asking if I was coming home for dinner. I had opened my own design studio over the years, and as work got busier, my health had declined. Only the food Amelia cooked herself could truly whet my appetite. "I'll be home," I promised, "but I'm craving crawfish." "Okay, I'll make it for you." Amelia's tone was warm with affection. We flirted for another minute before hanging up. I turned, and that's when I saw them. Clara and Sophie, standing at the entrance to my studio, their expressions grim. 5 years had passed. Sophie was taller now, her features sharpening to resemble her mother's more and more. The 11-year-old girl stood there, looking down at me from the doorway. "Dad," she asked, her voice accusatory, "who were you just talking to?" Clara stood beside her, silent, making no move to stop her. Clearly, she was just as curious. I locked my phone's screen and slipped it into my bag. "That's my private business. Also, young lady, you've mistaken me for someone else. I'm not your father." Sophie seemed stunned that I wouldn't acknowledge her. She rushed forward and grabbed my arm. "I don't have the wrong person. You are my dad. Dad, I've missed you so much. Why won't you say you know me?" As she spoke, tears welled in her eyes, and she began to cling to me, trying to be cute, to evoke a memory of a time when such an act would have melted me. 5 minutes passed. I remained entirely unmoved. In fact, her persistence was beginning to visibly annoy me. Sophie finally couldn't take it anymore. She snatched my bag from my shoulder and frantically began digging through it, desperate to find some proof that I was who she claimed I was. She opened my wallet. The small photo of her was no longer there. She tried to unlock my phone. The passcode was no longer her birthday. The moment I chose to start a new life, I had systematically erased every trace of her and Clara. I had even instructed the system to alter her official DNA records to match Daniel's. She couldn't find a single piece of evidence to prove our connection. All our relatives, our friends, the entire world would only remember that the family's son-in-law was Daniel. I was just a stranger, a man with no connection to them at all. Sophie broke down, crying hysterically. I calmly took my bag back and looked at Clara. "Ma'am, you're her parent, correct? You should really teach your child some manners. Going through a stranger's personal belongings is not something a well-behaved child does. I have somewhere to be. So if you don't mind, please take your daughter and go." Before I could finish, Clara lunged forward, clapping a hand over my mouth, her eyes wild and red-rimmed. She demanded, "Why? Why did you leave us? Why does everyone say our husband, our dad, is Daniel?" The difference in strength between a man and a woman is a physical reality. I struggled for a moment but couldn't break her grip. I was about to bite down hard on her hand when my phone began to ring from inside my bag. The ringtone was a cheesy, off-key recording of Amelia and our daughter singing A Happy Family of 3. It was from Maya's kindergarten talent show. I hadn't wanted to set it as my ringtone, but that little troublemaker had laid down on our old dog, Lucky, and threatened to run away from home with him if I didn't. I wasn't worried about her. As the daughter of the story's main character, she probably had mercenaries secretly protecting her, even when she was building sandcastles. But Lucky was getting old. I was worried his frail bones couldn't handle the hardship of life on the streets. Hearing the ringtone, Sophie, who was squatting on the ground, sobbing, stopped crying. Clara's expression inexplicably brightened. "Is that a happy family of 3? Evan, you miss us too, don't you? You miss our family. Otherwise, you wouldn't use this song as your ringtone." I rolled my eyes so hard they nearly got stuck in my head. I shook my head, dislodging her hand. Sorry to disappoint you. My wife and daughter are completely tone-deaf. My apologies if their singing offended your ears." With that, I pulled out my phone and answered Maya's call. "Hi, sweetie. What's up? Do you miss Daddy?" My voice was so sickeningly sweet that even I cringed. On the other end, the 5-year-old was clearly taken aback. She must have thought I'd caught her doing something terrible. She stammered, "Daddy, you know? I didn't mean to scare Mikey with the grasshopper. Mommy said they're tasty when you fry them, so I was just giving it to him." "What? You scared a boy with a grasshopper?" So much for any father staying gentle for more than 5 seconds. No wonder her teacher had sent me a message today and then quickly deleted it. She must have decided my daughter was a lost cause. My voice turned sharp. "Put your mother on the phone. What kind of mother teaches her daughter to give grasshoppers to boys?" Amelia never got the chance to answer. Clara snatched the phone from my hand and threw it violently against the ground, where it shattered. "What, sweetie? What wife? Evan, your wife and your daughter are right here." The air in the room went still for a long, heavy moment. The irritation on my face faded, replaced by a cold, flat indifference. I had also smashed Clara's phone once. It was the day I discovered she had changed my contact name in her phone to The Handyman. At the time, they had just returned from one of their trips to Australia. Sophie had contracted some foreign virus and was burning up with a high fever, mumbling "Dan Dan" incoherently. I thought she was saying "rub rub," so I was gently rubbing her tummy while trying to call Clara, who was out in the garden. The phone rang from a table nearby. She had left it behind. I went to get it for her and saw the caller ID clearly. The Handyman. I was the handyman. But on this phone, how could I be the handyman? Just 3 months ago, my contact name had been My Husband. A cold dread settled in my gut, telling me the reason was on that phone. I picked it up and entered my birthday. Unlock failed. Our wedding anniversary. Unlock failed. Our daughter's birthday, my mother-in-law's birthday, Clara's own birthday, all of them failed. Just then, Clara walked back into the room and saw me holding her phone. Her brow furrowed. "What are you doing? Our daughter caught a virus from abroad. The family doctor says we need to get her to the hospital immediately. Give me the phone." Why did my contact name change? "Just give me the phone." In the ensuing scuffle, I slammed the phone to the ground. "Why do you take her to Australia every year? Why can my mother-in-law go, my father-in-law go, even your damn friends can go, but I can't? Why? Was my contact name changed to the Handyman? Back then, I believed the system had malfunctioned and had bet my entire life on this family. For 6 years of our marriage, she took our daughter on that vacation, but never once was she willing to take me. The vast southern hemisphere had become a forbidden land for me. I could go to England for business, to France for art exhibitions, to Africa for aid work, but I could never, ever go to Australia. And for all of it, there was never a reason. The anxiety and confusion exhausted me. I squatted on the floor and sobbed like a child. Clara walked over to me, looking down at me from above, her voice devoid of warmth. "Evan, stop acting crazy. It's ugly." How ugly was it? My thoughts returned to the present. I looked at the furious, disheveled Clara before me. "You're right," I said softly. "It is ugly." Because of the years of memory disruption, Clara's mental state had clearly deteriorated. She had dark circles under her eyes and looked as if she had lost a significant amount of weight. She was probably wearing the suit I had custom made for her 5 years ago, hoping I would recognize her. The broad shoulders of the suit now hung empty, making her look like a fragile paper doll. Hearing me call her ugly, Clara's pupils shrank. She looked at me in disbelief. "Evan, what are you saying?" I didn't answer. I just called security. While they restrained her and a still sobbing Sophie, I slipped away. I was grateful to her for one thing. She had taught me that not every question deserves an answer. Behind me, Clara and Sophie were still shouting, "Evan, have you lost your memory too? We really are a family. I'm really your wife, and she's your daughter." Brenda, the head of security and a former mercenary who now worked for Amelia, slapped her hard across the face. "You're insane!" When I got home, Amelia had already taken off her suit jacket and was in the kitchen, wearing an apron, preparing the crawfish. Hearing me come in, she poked her head out and greeted me with a fawning smile. "Honey, you're home. I made the crawfish 3 ways today: garlic, butter, salted egg yolk, and spicy. You've got options." Maya came trotting over to help me with my bag. They both thought the phone call had cut off because I was angry. The fragrant aroma of garlic and spices filled the air. I walked into the kitchen. "Next time," I said, my voice gentle, "don't teach our daughter such weird things. You ate grasshoppers back in the day because times were tough. Now, with all the pollution, she could get sick." Amelia nodded, her expression sincere. "I know, my dear husband." That night, Amelia pressed me down on the bed and whispered in my ear, "I hear someone was bothering you at the studio today?" My body tensed. No! The moment the word left my lips, I wanted to slap myself. Brenda was her person. She would have known the second Clara and Sophie set foot on the property. Amelia playfully twirled a strand of my hair. "No? It was just a couple of random people. I didn't want to worry you, so I didn't say anything." I gave in, burying my face in her chest and acting cute to make up for my lie. When I took this mission, the system told me that with Amelia, lying and hiding things were major transgressions. Someone who fought their way out of darkness hates betrayal above all else. But those 7 years with Clara had left deep scars. I could never bring myself to fully entrust my body and soul to a woman again. Amelia's hand moved from my neck down to my waist. "Random people, sweetie. Are you sure? Because I heard the little one called you Daddy, and the big one called you husband." Her hand tightened on my waist, and she bit down gently on my collarbone, leaving a mark that belonged only to her. Who those two were, whether we had a past connection. She had probably investigated it all thoroughly the second time Maya called me. Amelia hadn't found anything, but I had lied instinctively. A lie like that was more infuriating to her than the truth. A storm of emotion erupted in the darkness. She covered my mouth, just as Clara had, but her fingers were slightly parted, allowing only muffled, involuntary whimpers to escape. As the first ray of morning sun hit the bedroom, Amelia leaned down and nibbled my earlobe. "Evan, don't let me find out you're lying to me. Otherwise, I don't know what I'll do." Amelia loved me very much. The system had clearly indicated that her affection level for me was at 99%. But 5 years had passed, and that last single percentage point showed no signs of budging. I didn't even know what the problem was. She could trust me with her life, tolerate all my theatrics, even die for me, but she just couldn't give me her heart completely. And until the progress reached 100%, I couldn't leave. The next time I woke up, Amelia had already left for work. On the dining table was my favorite strawberry milk and a defiant apology note. "I was wrong to hurt you last night, but you shouldn't have instinctively hidden things from me. So, we're even. I don't want to fight with you. I'll bring home a little cake for you tonight. Don't be mad at me, honey." At the bottom, there was a little stick figure drawing of a person begging for forgiveness, clearly something Maya had forced her to draw. I could just imagine the two of them, mother and daughter, hunched over that note this morning, scratching their heads. Yesterday's unpleasantness vanished completely. I folded the note, about to call Amelia to soothe her worried heart, when my phone suddenly rang. A man's voice, both strange and familiar, came through the line. "Is this Mr. Evan? Is now a good time to talk?" It was strange because I had never spoken to him directly. It was familiar because on the night I went through Clara's chat logs, I had listened to so many of his voice messages. In the VIP room at the Imperial Room, Daniel was dressed impeccably in an Armani suit, his expression friendly. When he saw me arrive, he quickly had his assistant come over to take my coat. "Mr. Evan, right? I heard my wife and daughter came to see you yesterday. I'm so sorry. I've been so busy with work these years that I've neglected them. It's caused some confusion in their memories. They keep thinking their husband and father is a man named Evan." As he spoke, he poured me a cup of tea, his eyes studying me carefully. "To be honest, and this is embarrassing, they've mistaken many people over the years. I have to deal with this sort of thing several times a year. Ultimately, it's our fault. On behalf of my wife and daughter, I apologize." We clinked our teacups. The fragrant, high-end green tea went down in one gulp. I knew why he wanted to see me. The moment the system told me Clara and Sophie had recovered their memories, I guessed that as the world's original male lead, Daniel's own memories must have been stirred. He probably had frequent, unsettling dreams about his past. In those dreams, he was full of ambition, but had achieved nothing. He had mistaken a pearl for a fish eye. His current identity, status, and wealth all belonged to another man. He was just the third party in someone else's marriage. He had subjected himself to countless paternity tests, but his wife and daughter still insisted their husband and father was someone else. After a while, even he started to get confused. Maybe the family's original son-in-law really was named Evan. I took a sip of tea and put the cup down. "An apology isn't necessary. I lost my temper yesterday and had your wife and child thrown out of the complex. If there's nothing else, I should get going. My wife is waiting for me." "You have a wife?" Hearing I was married, Daniel's dazed expression tightened, and a flicker of joy he couldn't hide crossed his face. "When did you get married? Do you have kids?" Then he feigned composure, adjusting his tie with a hand that wore a luxury watch. "I just feel a connection with you, Mr. Evan. That's why I'm asking." Seeing his flustered state, I suddenly felt a wave of sadness. I used to be just like him, because my wife was distant, because my daughter wanted another man to be her father. I was trapped in a spiral of self-doubt and anxiety. Mother and daughter would disappear for periods of time, and in some place unknown to me, it was as if they had another home. Life is a cycle. The forbidden land that had haunted me for years had now, through the tunnel of time, enclosed him. Daniel looked at me, his eyes hopeful. "We got married 5 years ago," I said. "Our child is 5. Hearing this, he let out a long, shuddering sigh of relief. The rest of the meal was unusually pleasant. Daniel had wronged me in the past, but in my own way I had made him bear the consequences for the rest of his life. He told me Sophie was very filial, that she even prepared him special stomach-warming tea because she knew he had digestive issues. I said Maya was the same, and she'd even learned to make herbal soups from her mom for me. A bowl of herbal soup every day? I can't possibly drink it all." "Can't finish it, huh? Can't finish it." Daniel's expression was sheepish. Just as we were about to agree on how happy we both were and that our families should stay out of each other's lives, the door to the room was pushed open. Clara stood there, holding Sophie's hand, her face a mask of fury. "Who told you to bother him?" A minute ago, Sophie was the world's most dutiful daughter in Daniel's story. A minute later, the girl was punching and kicking the man. "You're trying to break up our family again. It was because of you that Dad left us. You're just the other man. It's all your fault. All your fault." The color drained from Daniel's face. He couldn't maintain his composure anymore and shoved Sophie away. "Enough. Your grandparents, even the maids, have all told you that I am your husband and your father, but you refuse to believe it. We do a paternity test every single month. You spend half the year looking for Evan, Do you not believe we're a family, or do you not believe that Evan has nothing to do with you?" Tears streamed from his eyes. The same breakdown I had experienced 5 years ago was now replaying itself through him. I pulled out a tissue, wanting to wipe his tears, a strange gesture of pity. Clara blocked my arm. "Don't. He's emotionally unstable right now. He might hurt you." She wouldn't let me near him because she was afraid he would hurt me. Was that the same reason she never let me set foot in Australia? How ironic. I handed the tissue to Daniel, turned around, and slapped Clara hard across the face. "You're a monster," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "You're disgusting." If I hadn't left back then, if I had stayed and confronted them, would she have treated me the same way she was treating Daniel now? The one she likes, she protects with everything she has. The one she doesn't, she tosses aside like a dirty rag, too disgusted to even look at. The thought that I once wanted to spend the rest of my life with someone like that made my entire future feel bleak. I grabbed my bag and fled the scene. I never wanted to have anything to do with people like this again. Seeing me run, Clara and Sophie chased after me, all the way to my front gate before stopping, out of breath. "Evan, you might not believe this," Clara panted, "but everyone's memories in this world have been altered, including your own. 5 years ago, we were a family. You were my husband, and Sophie's father." Sophie chose that moment to step forward and hug my arm. "Daddy, don't leave me. I'll be a good girl from now on." I wanted to tell them that I hadn't lost my memory, that I was the one who had changed everyone else's. A sharp bark interrupted my thoughts, and Maya's sweet, tiny voice piped up from nearby. "Daddy, are you cheating on Mommy with another kid?" On the landscaped path by my gate, Amelia stood with a cake box in one hand, holding Maya's hand and Lucky's leash in the other, her expression unreadable. I had told Clara from our first encounter that I was married, that I had a wife and child now, but they didn't believe me. Now, my family was standing right in front of them, alive and real. Clara looked at me, her voice strained. "They are—" I walked over, took Amelia's arm with my left hand, and held Maya's with my right. "Allow me to introduce you. This is my wife, my child, and my dog." Hearing himself introduced, Lucky let out 2 happy barks, which made Sophie jump back in fear. Actually, Sophie used to love Lucky more than anyone. When she was 6 months old and nothing could soothe her crying, only the little puppy bringing her a jingle bell could stop her tears. When Sophie was 3, she was bullied by an older kid in the neighborhood. Lucky, despite being beaten by the other family, limped over to protect his little owner. But when she turned 4, Sophie suddenly told me she was allergic to dog fur. How could someone be around a dog for 4 years and only then become allergic? I insisted on taking her to the hospital for a checkup, but Clara stopped me. What's more important, the child or the dog? That one sentence sealed Lucky's fate. It was only after reading the chat logs that I learned it wasn't Sophie who was allergic to dog fur, but Daniel. They got rid of Lucky simply because Daniel had found dog hair on them that year. Dogs only remember kindness, not grudges. Seeing guests at the house, Lucky instinctively started wagging his tail in greeting. I patted his head. "You silly dog." Clara's lips trembled. "Is that Lucky?" "Yes, I took him back." Lucky was the puppy we had adopted together on our wedding day. Back then, Clara joked that he was our eldest son, but in the face of her "one that got away," even her eldest son was just a dog. At this point, what was there left for Clara not to understand? I had taken back our old dog. I remembered our past. It wasn't that I didn't know we were once a family. It was that I simply didn't want them anymore. The dog left the people who didn't love him, found a new home and a new family. Clara gave a short, self-deprecating laugh. As if accepting her fate, she led Sophie to the other side of the path and forced a polite smile. It seems we really did have the wrong person. Sophie's eyes widened, wanting to protest, but Clara dragged her away. A month later, Clara sent me a letter. In it, she told me she had transferred all her company shares to my name, saying it was what I deserved. Daniel, unable to distinguish between memory and reality, had been admitted to a mental health facility. Sophie had cut ties with the family and moved to the UK. At the end of the letter, she wished me a happy life, saying this belated acceptance was her way of compensating me, just as I had once accepted her choice. I wish you a beautiful life with your true love, always by your side. Holding the letter, I sat on the rooftop with Lucky for a long time. In the distance, the city lights twinkled under the bright moon. The unique hum of this world filled my ears. I had been here for 12 years. I'd had 2 wives, 2 children. Were my parents in my own world 12 years older now, too? A gentle breeze messed up my hair, and a pair of large hands tucked it behind my ear. Amelia sat down next to me, holding a small piece of cake. You're unhappy? I'm not mad about what happened today. Okay, maybe a little. But if you just explain, I'll believe you. She was always like this. A top-tier business queen who commanded respect everywhere else. But in the game of love, she was willing to play the loser for my sake. No, that's not right. It's precisely because of the inequality in our financial status that she had to play the loser. Because she was afraid of my insecurities, my anxieties. The inequality between men and women is common in relationships, but she chose to step down, to dull her sharp edges, to balance the unsteady scales for me. I hugged her, my voice muffled against her shoulder. I was married before. I figured. And I had a child with someone else. I know. Amelia hugged me back. If that's what you were hiding, then I can forgive you. If you miss that child, you can bring her to live with us. Everyone has a past. All I want is your present and your future. But Evan, am I really in your future? I froze and looked up at her. Her dark eyes were filled with stars and a deep, profound affection. I know you're not from this world. I know that once the progress bar hits 100%, you'll leave. Fireworks exploded in my mind. I proposed to you because I couldn't help it, she continued, her voice soft. I have my career. You have your life. I thought even if you left later, I would have no regrets. As long as you're happy, as long as it's what you want, and as long as it's something I can give. But Evan, the woman's hand caressed my face, I can't bear to let you go. I think it was one morning. I saw you and Maya sleeping so peacefully, and I suddenly didn't want to let you leave. My life before was all about leveling up and conquering challenges. Then I met you, and I had a home. The system's alert suddenly chimed in. Mission successful. Progress at 100%. Does host wish to exit this world? Amelia gave a bitter laugh. Go back, Evan. 5 years was enough. A week later, in a bustling 21 Century shopping mall, I was helping my parents pick out some clothes. Because I had completed the mission, the system had given me a lot of material rewards. I booked the best retirement home for my parents and bought them the most secure pension plan imaginable. That jumpy, over-the-top system sounded another alarm in my head. Danger! Danger! World barrier breached! Host, this is bad. Your wife and daughter tore through the dimensional barrier and are coming for you. Does your system always have security breaches? I muttered under my breath. Are you sure it's working properly? I turned around. Amelia was holding a large container of crawfish. Maya was holding a small cake, and Lucky was holding my bag in his mouth. Their faces were grim. I told you to go and you actually went? Amelia said, her voice a mix of anger and relief. If we didn't come looking for you, were you really never coming back? I rushed over, fawning over them, and pulled all 3 of them into a hug. Of course not. I still have 1 mistake compensation from the Jumpy system. I can go to any world I want. I was planning to get my parents settled and then come find you. Maya was pouting. I poked her cheek gently and pointed toward my parents. Say hi to Grandpa and Grandma. Grandpa. Grandma, she mumbled shyly. Amelia, meeting her in-laws for the first time, was at a complete loss for words. Lucky, his eyes wide with excitement, wagged his tail furiously. Here, in this world, my own world, I finally had a real family.